So for those of you who are unfamiliar with our organization, I'll just give a short introduction to who we are. Defenders of Wildlife is a national nonprofit organization, and we have a local office here in Anchorage, which is on the traditional lands of the Dena'ina. We are dedicated to the protection of all native animals and plants in their natural communities. In Alaska, we are working to protect the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, Kenai National Wildlife Refuge, Eisenbach National Wildlife Refuge, Tongass National Forest, National Petroleum Reserve, Alaska, and other key ecosystem from the threats posed by climate change, unsustainable development, and unsound wildlife, and policies and management practices. Up here, we focus on endangered species, including polar bears and cooking-lip beluga whales. Tonight, we will be focusing on our Alexander Archipelago wolves, which are down in the Tongass. So I'll kind of give you a play of how it's going to go tonight. I'll introduce our artist, we'll paint, and we'll have a short intermission. That's the drawing time, and that's the time that we will learn about the Alexander Archipelago wolves and the Tongass National Forest from Pat Lavin, and then we'll finish up the painting.
Jen, there's some people still waiting to get in. Can you?
Let's see. Oh yeah, I forgot. I don't have my double screen with me because I'm.
Thank you.
In my living room. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. All right. Wow, we're up to 55 folks tonight. This is awesome. Okay. So I am going to introduce our artist. And if you've joined our other nights, it's the same artist who did our polar bear and our brown bear and our cooking-lip beluga. So Carrie Becker is based out of Eagle River, Alaska, but her style was developed with influences in realism, post-impressionism, and Hellenistic. She was trained in the fine arts from Brigham Young University in Idaho and graduated with a degree in integrated studio that focuses on in-depth studio work with an emphasis on crossing conceptual and media boundaries. Finding the textures, movement, and shapes in nature is Carrie's true passion and inspiration. So now I'll turn the time over to Carrie. And I will continue to admit people.
Hey guys, I'm Carrie. Thanks for joining us as we paint to increase awareness for these wolves. So we're gonna start off today with our blue. This is phthalo blue, but if you have a dark ultramarine or so blue, I would use that one. And this is a phthalo green, or kind of like a hunter green if you have that type of color, or any green really. So we're gonna just mix those together on our palette. Just kind of doing X's in our brush. X's get us a nice mixture. Just pulling that together. Okay, I'm gonna add a tiny bit of water to mine. And once I add the water, I'll have to keep it flat, but just adding some water. And we're just gonna start off on our canvas doing X's, okay? These X's add texture, and the grains of the canvas, you want to hit them from angles so you can get the paint into those little, essentially like the little waffle holes on a Belgian waffle, okay? So I'm trying to hit it from different angles, get that color in there. And I'm using my 2-inch brush, by the way, just so we can get coverage real quick on this background. Move this back so I can. Nice X's down the whole canvas. It's also nice to have like that texture, kind of gives it a little bit more of an interesting view than just going horizontally across the whole canvas. I need some more.
You can also turn off your cameras at this time if you want to increase your bandwidth. We do have quite a few cameras on, so to slow down the feed. It's showing a little blurry on my side. And at the end, we will turn on, well, you can turn on your cameras at the end and show everybody your wolf that you've painted.
I love seeing everyone's. So great. Just working our way through the canvas, getting a good coating on. If you're seeing a little bit too much white through your canvas, you might have a thinner paint and you might need to do 2 coats of this. But I'm laying it on pretty thick, so I'm just going to let it dry during the drying time. I also like to do a heavier mix towards the bottom of my painting of the paint because it adds kind of like a depth to the painting, like it's an actual horizon. Okay, so I have X's all over my canvas. I'm going to take my brush and just lightly brush going across my canvas ever so slightly, knocking off some of those ridges, but you can still see the basic X's underneath slightly. All right, so we got our background done. You have a little bit of touching up to do or catching up to me. I've been painting backgrounds for years, so don't feel bad if you're behind. We're going to turn the time over to our presenter. You're going to let this dry. And if you have a hair blow dryer, go ahead and run that over it, or you can just let it air dry as the presenter is speaking. And if you, once again, if you have that really thin paint, you can go over it again once it's completely dry with another layer of paint, okay?
You can also, while Pat's getting ready, you can drop in the chat if you have any questions.
Yeah. And you can also rinse off this coloring once you're done as well, if you need your palette clear.
Thanks, and thanks everybody for being with us tonight on Paint Night. My name's Pat Lavin. I'm an Alaska policy advisor at Defenders in our Anchorage office. As Jen mentioned, the Tongass National Forest is one of the landscapes that we work to conserve here in Alaska, and it's also home to the Alexander Archipelago wolf. So we figured this was a good part of our work to talk about on Wolf Night. And so I'll try to be brief and jump right in so that we can finish and get back to the fun stuff of painting. This is a map of the Tongass. It's hard to believe it's this big on a small little map like this, but that's over 17 million acres of forest there, by far the largest national forest in the country. It's the largest intact temperate rainforest in the world. It's an amazing carbon sink resource. It's full of mountains, glaciers, rivers, lakes, wetlands. It's some of the oldest trees still standing. It's home to an incredible array of wildlife, including black and brown bears, bald eagles, salmon, of course, wolves, and lots of island endemic species. There's over 1,000 islands that comprise the Alexander Archipelago, the namesake of the AA wolf. This map is taken from a report that we commissioned during the recent elimination of the roadless rule on the Tongass. You may have heard about this, happened in October. The roadless area conservation rule is a national rule that protects over 58 million acres of forest lands from logging and road building, or it did until recently when over 9 million of those acres were removed from protection on the Tongass. The color coding here, the green is the forested areas, the white and lighter yellow are not forested. So there's quite a lot of that on the forest too. That's because there's ice fields and glaciers and wetlands and all kinds of vegetation types. The pink is logged forest. There's an unfortunate legacy of large-scale logging on the Tongass, which you can see in the pink. And toward the bottom there is Prince of Wales Island. It's the 4th largest island in the country. It's heavily logged and a place of particular concern for AA wolves. And we'll talk more about Prince of Wales here in a little bit. So just touch briefly on some of the things Defenders works on the Tongass. I mentioned the Rovus rule that was just overturned, and we're still working to bring that back. Generally speaking, we do quite a bit with forest planning and implementation. All national forests are guided by forest plans that speak to how the wildlife and habitat will be managed on the forest. So we do quite a bit with that. And then really lean in on the Tongass on protecting the remaining old growth forest there. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go as well. So to get right to some wolf specifics, the AA wolf is a subspecies of gray wolf. Their range is Southeast Alaska, coastal Southeast Alaska and British Columbia. They are genetically different from other gray wolves. The Alaska wolves are genetically distinguishable from the BC wolves, and even the Prince of Wales Island wolves are genetically distinct from other Alaska wolves. So there's differentiation there. They're smaller than other gray wolf species. They go about 30 to 50 pounds, stand about 2 feet tall. The Tongass constitutes pretty much their entire range within Alaska. The primary prey there is Sitka black-tailed deer. They also eat fish and small mammals, prefer the old growth forest, high quality deer habitat forests. They like lower elevation, relatively flatter terrain. They often den in the old growth. And historically, there's not a lot of population estimates for the whole Alaska population. One estimate about 25 years old was of about 900 or so wolves. The estimates on Prince of Wales itself are done every year, much more scientifically rigorous and more accurate, at least for that subpopulation, which is an important subpopulation within the Alaska group. Some of the threats then to the AA wolves that have us working on this, in some of the areas you can kind of tell from the pink on the map, some of the old growth habitat has been reduced by 30 and 40%. On Prince of Wales, what's called the large tree old growth, the largest of those stands have been reduced by over 80%. Roads further contribute to that fragmentation. Often roads go hand in hand with the logging, and Prince of Wales especially is heavily roaded as well as being heavily logged. And that leads to the next problem of prey availability, because the same habitat, that old growth habitat that wolves like, one reason they like it is that it's very good for deer. And although there are no great deer population estimates, certainly the subsistence deer hunters, the hunters that live on Prince of Wales Island and elsewhere in the Tongass have reported consistently that it's harder and harder to find deer. So at least anecdotally, and you'd expect with all the habitat loss, has been tough on both wolves and deer. And this dynamic plays into the next threat for wolves, which is direct mortality, because all of that, the combination of all that road access and the competition for deer make wolves especially desirable for hunters and trappers. See the wolves as direct competition for their deer. And for example, in the winter of 2019-20, an unprecedented number of 165 wolves were trapped on Prince of Wales Island, over half of that population, which, as I said, is estimated pretty rigorously now. So it's existing habitat loss from all that legacy logging and road building, plus continued old growth logging and road building, and the elimination of the roadless rule, opening up a lot more territory that was previously protected. All these things are combining to threaten AA wolves in Alaska. And so with that sort of background of threats and where they are and what's happening, we can talk a little bit about some of the conservation efforts Defenders has underway. You mentioned the place where we leaned in a lot is then efforts to protect that old growth. In 2018, the Forest Service proposed the largest old growth clear cut in the country in at least the last 30 years. You guessed it, it was on Prince of Wales Island, but Defenders and others successfully challenged that action in court, protecting over 50,000 acres there of prime ancient forest, prime deer and wolf habitat. And we're now continuing to work hard to ensure that the new administration, the new Forest Service, moves out of that old growth liquidation business. And then in addition to just working to protect those old growth forests, getting back to the forest plan implementation prong of what we do, it's a matter of forest plan implementation that the agencies, the Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife Service, and the Alaska Department of Fish and Game produced this wolf habitat management program. They finalized this, probably hard to see, but March of 2017. That was developed because in about 2014, the wolf population, again on Prince of Wales, was documented, I believe it was down to 89 animals. And when there's a mortality concern for wolves, the agencies pursuant to the forest plan are supposed to put together some kind of plan like this to address that mortality concern. So in addition to protecting old growth, there's other things. There's restoring habitat. There's more, supposed to be tighter management on that mortality to reduce how much of that human-caused mortality happens. And then also managing roads and dens. I mentioned there's a lot of roads. So some of the ideas are to reclaim some of those roads. That reduces the fragmentation and helps the wolves survive. And then den management as well, ensuring that those buffers are big enough, that dens are protected. So there's a number of good ideas here in this wolf program, but the key word there being implementation. And in the last 4 years, getting the Forest Service to actually implement any of this has been tough. Hence, this next slide, particularly after all that mortality that I told you about, but also really all the threats taken together, led to us joining this petition to list the AA wolf under the Endangered Species Act. So it was filed in July, and because of all the threats that you've heard about, when you file a petition like this, the Fish and Wildlife Service is supposed to respond within 90 days, which would have been October. That didn't happen on time. They frequently miss that deadline, but we do expect to hear fairly soon from the Fish and Wildlife Service, and they'll determine whether this petition may be warranted or is not warranted. And if it may be warranted, then that will trigger an additional thorough process that the agency will go through and make a decision regarding whether the wolf should be listed. So that's where we are with that. And I'll get to pretty much the last slide here. Things you can do in addition to coming out for paint night. And I thank you for doing that, raising awareness on wolves when you are able to show your paintings to your friends and family. That's great. And in addition to that, there is we will be getting this warranted finding from the Fish and Wildlife Service that triggers a public process that you can participate in and present a comment, file a comment with the service. But without having to wait for that, another thing that you can do right away, we talked about the roadless rule, is to tell President Biden to restore that roadless rule on the Tongass. That's certainly our ask. for the new administration. And you can help us make that ask at that saveourroadlessforest.com site. And then beyond that, just in general, following us on social media. Jen and her colleagues in our communications department work hard to keep everybody informed of what's going on conservation issues, priorities for defenders, and you can catch up on your wolf information through those channels as well. And so with that, I can open it. I don't know if Jen can if there's questions, or Jen, I think I'll just turn it back to you.
Yeah, so it looks like we have a question or two in the chat here. Looks like, is there a reason there aren't great population estimates, or is it just not a big priority?
Population estimates for wolves, then I take. So there are really good population estimates for the Prince of Wales Island portion of the Alaska wolves. Generally speaking, wildlife, wolves and other wildlife in Alaska, the good, reliable population estimates are just hard to do, expensive to do. It really, only kind of the highest priorities are going to get that much attention, just to the cost and time it takes to do that. But on Prince of Wales, because of the historic trouble there, that's a very large island. It's understood to be a very important habitat for the Alaska AA wolf, and it's got a lot of logging and a lot of trapping. So all those factors have led to kind of a spotlight on Prince of Wales, and so there is that extra effort. It's led by the Alaska Department of Fish and Game. They developed pretty advanced techniques that I won't try to get into explaining all of it, but it's super sophisticated population estimates, and they're down, the range, like this last estimate, before the 165 wolves were taken, the estimate that population came from was about 320. The range is like 250 to 390 or something like that, with a 95% confidence interval. So it's really quite pretty precise as population estimates go on Prince of Wales. And really the reason there aren't more and better estimates for the other wolves and for other wildlife is just the cost and difficulty of doing so.
Let's see, can we comment on the listing petition now, or did you say to wait until Fish and Wildlife does something with it? I guess it'd be.
Yeah, so in terms of commenting on the petition, we do need to wait. We do expect to get that warranted finding from the service. I don't know when, should be soon. Again, it's supposed to be a 90-day finding, and we're probably about 90 days beyond the 90 that it should have been. So it could be any month now. Certainly I would expect it, this year, hopefully the first half of this year kind of thing. And that'll trigger an opportunity to comment on that. And then meanwhile, the one that you can comment on right away, if you're interested, is the roadless rule ask of the new administration to restore the roadless rule on the Tongass.
Yeah, and I did drop that link in the chat for anyone who wants to just click on that and go see what that's about. We have a couple more questions in the chat, and I think I'm just gonna let Pat read the chat and answer those via the chat, so that we can go back to our painting, so that we can make sure we fit it all on, if that's okay, Pat.
Yeah, that's
okay. Perfect. These are great questions.
I'll hang around and answer what I can in the chat. And thanks again, everybody, for coming out.
Perfect. Now we are going to turn the time back over to Carrie.
All right, thanks, Pat. That was awesome. So we're going to then grab our chalk. And what's great about the chalk is we can draw and then erase it with a slightly damp towel really easily. And we can mess up and then erase and mess up and erase. But the thing is with your slightly wet towel, you don't want to be scrubbing at the painting because you can take off the acrylic paint. So, all right. So we're going to take our our chalk, and I use a sharpener like this to sharpen mine, but you can totally use just a flat piece of chalk if that's what you got. Okay, so we're gonna do an oval. So my oval is gonna be more like, almost like I taken a square and rounded off the edges. So I'm gonna make it about the size of my hand. I want it to fill a space, and I'm gonna tilt it slightly down towards the, like, I don't know, what is that, the 7 o'clock position-ish. So I'm more of a digital clock type person. So, all right. So maybe an egg that's equal on both sides, if that helps you visualize it a little bit better. See how it's about, I'm leaving about a couple inches at the top of my painting because you're gonna need to leave room for the ears, which will come to about there. And you'll want room for the body to come down this way. In fact, I can move mine down a little bit. So I'm gonna move mine down slightly. And that's what's so great about the chalk is it erases so easily. It's the best.
Can they do this with pencil? And
You can do it with pencil. The thing is, what I find with pencil is you can't see it really well on this dark canvas. And sometimes you can poke through the canvas. But if that's what you have, if you have pencil, you can use that. You can even use a marker if that's what you've got, but less room for error, or you can't erase it as well. So let you guys have a second with that. Get your eggs going.
remember, this is being recorded, so if you want to go back, like, you can watch it again.
And there's also a PDF of all the steps. It's in the.
It was on the sign up.
It was on the sign up. So
Yeah.
all right. So the next step is we're going to put a cross through our egg. And what that's going to do is that's going to help us orient the rest of the steps. So you kind of want to go the direct middle this way and then the direct middle this way.
Make sure that you are on mute. Just a reminder here, we are recording and we're trying to keep the background noise at a minimum. So,
And you never know what your kids are going to come in the room and say. So.
or pets.
Okay, hopefully everyone has those half lines drawn. We're also going to divide this space, which is our half. We're going to divide it one more time into fourths. Essentially, we're going to take that fourth line, the 1/4 line, and we're going to extend it beyond the face in the front, because that's going to help us form our muzzle. And don't worry if you're doing it too far out. We're going to chop it off where we're going to use those extra lines for us to like gauge how long we need the muzzle. Okay. So now we have 4 equal sized-ish lines. If you see one's way bigger, you can adjust by erasing the chalk and then move it around. Our eyes are very good about gauging patterns and stuff. And so what we're trying to do in this drawing is break things down into patterns so that you can visualize those and then use those to make an accurate drawing. How's that sitting with everyone? We're doing pretty good?
Yep. Okay. Got a thumbs up from a few. I'm just kind of, yep. Thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Cool.
Wow. Okay. Perfect.
right.
Looks like we're staying on.
So I'm going to give you a little artist trick. I'm going to use my fingers and I'm going to kind of measure my space of where my 4th lines are. So I'm going to take that and I'm just going to move it so that I'm going to use my fingers and I'm going to pick up a little bit of chalk on them. Okay. And I'm just going to move it so that I'm making almost a box using that. And I want the inside of my box to be ever so slightly inside my circle. That's going to tell me about how big my muzzle is going to be. That way you can use it to specifically eyeball your specific wolf, because everyone's circles are going to be, or everyone's ovals are going to be a little bit different size. But yeah, so touch it with your fingers using the chalk, and then you're able to use it as kind of a little marker and spot out. You can also use a ruler if the finger method is not exact enough for you, but it really, just a general. So. Oh, it's snowing outside. Guys.
Awesome.
So pretty. It kind of is fitting because our wolf is going to have snow in it too, so it'll be good.
That's true.
All righty. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the motion of the head to figure out where the bottom of this jawline is. Because we're trying to make the frame rate of the skull. So I like to get my hand going around my oval, and I just use kind of the momentum of that to connect it around this point and to the tip of the nose or the muzzle. So that would be right here for me. Just gonna come out and do that. You guys see that okay? Yeah, cool. All right.
Sure.
Now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna add a little bit of a slant to our nose. We wanna just come into this corner and just bring it up a little bit because it's not completely flat. It's not a pug, it's a noble wolf. I'm just kidding, pugs are beautiful. If you have a pug, I love pugs, they have the best personalities. All right. Okay. Next thing we're gonna do is about halfway through on our top, I guess would be our third line right here. We're just gonna put an L shape right here, okay? That's gonna be our eye. It's gonna mark where our eye is gonna be. Okay. And on that little L shape, you're also going to put an oval right here. That's going to be the bottom part of our eye. And you can just erase the top part of that oval because you don't need it. We're just kind of drawing out basically where we want our eye so you can gauge the size. And you can step back from your painting to get a good look and be like, oh yeah, that's about where it should go. But it's the corner of it is about halfway between these 2 points. So where the muzzle hits and the halfway point of the head. And we'll give you guys a moment to catch up because I know that one's a little intimidating to lay down.
It looks like if you're curious, Pat did drop in the chat some more information if you want to read more about how they do the wolf population estimation on Prince of Wales.
Are they able to scroll up through that in the recording? Is that possible?
I don't know, that's a good question. Huh. You can always give me a thumbs up using your reactions button at the bottom.
Or thumbs down if we're going too fast.
Yes, or thumbs down.
Thumbs
'Cause
down if I'm going too fast, let me know.
I
I
am
know we're trying to track quick, but
scrolling through.
sometimes you have a moment to
Thumbs
type
up,
the whole
thumbs up.
slow.
I like whoever has the Bobby, you have the troll. The troll. That's great. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. We've got thumbs up on everybody. Well, everybody that responded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, we're gonna add just a little bit of extra height right through this muzzle because we don't want it to be extra flat right there. So we're just gonna add just ever so slightly. You still want to drop down right there, but just a little bit, just give it a little bit. Okay. A little bit of love. Okay, and we're going to use the momentum trick again that we used on the bottom of this jaw, and we're going to use that to make the back of the head, the back of the neck, sorry. So we're going to use this line and connect that down and over like that. Actually, I want a little high right there, so I'm just going to go. Okay, so we're going to use the momentum of the head to come down and around, because our top of our head is connected through muscles through here, and so we need to communicate that our skull is connected to the neck. And the next one we're going to do for the neck is going to be, so if you're taking your eye line, and we're just going to track down right through there, and we're just going to do a line going back towards the body. So from the eye line going down. Sorry, covered it. Okay, we're going to use this opportunity to erase some of our unessential lines. So I'm going to erase this fourth line, and get rid of this box part right here, okay? And go ahead and follow along and erase that. Too many lines can confuse people down the line, so I like to erase them so you guys can kind of tell. Kind of like that. I'm going to keep the half line of both sides because we still want to track. It's going to help you locate where to put the ears at. So. Okay. Next part, we're going to do the ears. So I'm taking this half line and I'm just going to draw a line just behind it, following the same angle as our half line, going straight up. And we're going to go back like this. That's going to be our ear on the other side of the wolf. Okay, so I'm gonna take my finger and measure about how much of a difference I made between that half point and that ear. I'm gonna go about the same distance out and down this way. So go 1, 2 of those down and out. We're gonna just make a dot right there. That's gonna make the ear seem like it's on this side of the face. And your other dot you're going to do is about that same distance above the half point on this side. So you can make a dot right there as well. So it's about 2 of the thicknesses from this point over to this dot, and about that same 2 thicknesses away from this line is the next dot. Okay, and we're gonna connect those into another triangle. And the triangle is not gonna be exactly middle of these 2 points. It's gonna be leaning more towards the front ear. So this line is going to be shorter than this line. Sure, if I paid more attention in math class, I could probably tell you the hypotenuse and stuff, but unfortunately it was not a math whiz.
This is why we're artists.
I measure things with my eyes. Okay. So we're gonna then take this line and we're just kind of make it go kind of like it's touching the back of this part of the head and come down like that. That's gonna create our ear shape. And you can go ahead and erase the inside of that to help you visualize it. That's kind of the shape I'm looking for right there. Just making a slight arch right through there, connecting the top of the ear, kind of to the back of the head almost, and then down to your point. Just making a nice arch, and some nice rounded ears. Okay, so we're gonna add a little extra character to this back ear now. So this back ear, I'm gonna erase the straightness on the top of this one. I'm just gonna arch it back ever so slightly and then give it a rounded tip. It makes it less geometric.
Geometrical.
Oh my gosh, I can't. Geometric, thank you. I know the word, it's just.
Words are hard.
Words are hard. And then I'm also gonna round the tip of this one, okay? Let you guys catch up on the ears, give you a little moment. You can be fiddly with them, but if you mess with them too much, then you end up making them worse. So, and I know that from experience. Got a line thicker. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so next portion we're going to do is we're going to add the slant in the mouth. So wolves' mouths, they kind of, their cheeks, they kind of drag down a little bit. So when we make the line, we're not going to make it straight up the face. We're kind of going to angle it down towards the neck. So I'll exaggerate my line so you guys can see it. So it's right out there. We kind of want it to point down here. So you guys can see how much of an angle I'm putting it at. Okay.
Almost lost power here. My battery, my cord was not plugged in.
Okay. So we're going to take that bottom jawline and we're going to erase just a little bit of it going backwards, and you just form a new front of the line of the mouth right through there. So it's just going to take like just a barest half a step in so that you can see the difference between the top jaw and the bottom jaw. Just a little bit. And you can curve the back half of that going down a little bit. So, and that's just the little corner of the cheek. Okay, so if you're following along the PDF, I'm going to skip 14 for now. We're going to come back to it when we're drawing in stuff at the end, because it's pretty detailed and you can't really get it with the chalk. So, okay. Next, we're going to round out the nose. So I'm going to erase a little bit of it. Give it a little bit of a rounding right through there. Now, the part of this nose is it's less complicated than you think. So I'm gonna, it's really hard to see on the chalk. So I'm gonna kind of, can you see it okay on the paper? Okay, so we did the rounding right through here. You're gonna do an oval, and it's gonna be not as far up the nose as you think. It's gonna be a little farther down. Then you're gonna add a J to the back of it. You've been doing letters for forever. I'm sure J's come naturally. Do a J up to the top, and then do a little connecting line down to the front of the nose, okay? And then you'll just color in this portion when we're doing the outlines of the drawing at the end. You'll paint this in with black. But just so you guys can see, it's just an oval with some J's, okay? So I'm going to do that in my chalk. Where's my, that's kind of hard to get the detail to show up on the Zoom meeting. So I want you guys to have a nice close up. So I'm doing oval right here.
It's focusing on your hair.
Oh, my hair, dang it. Okay.
You need to be bald,
I'll have to
Carrie.
do this like crouched. Okay, so here's our little nostril. And it's kind of a flatter oval because we're not seeing it from front on where it's like it's an O. We're just seeing it from the side. So instead of it being like this, we're seeing it like that, and see how it gets foreshortened. So we'll do an oval here, and then we're going to do a J with a nice wide base up towards the front, and then connect it down right through there. Okay. Okay, so you have gotten through the hardest part of the drawing. Now it's just easy painting. So we'll let you guys catch up for a moment because I know that nose might be a little fiddly for people, but keep in mind, you're going to be painting and you might go over it. So be a little gentle on yourself. You might need to just go in there with the paint pen at the end and get it. So I give you guys a second to catch up to this point. Give you 5 or so minutes, okay?
Okay.
So if you're having a little bit of a round face cat problem, it's probably you don't have the long enough skull. If you look at the skull of a wolf, it's very elongated because they have so many muscles that come in and attach. So you probably just need to lengthen it out a little bit.
Mine looks like my 14-year-old anime drawings. We all suffer together.
That's okay. I actually suck at anime. I can't do it. It's a different type of art form that I'm just not inclined to.
The recording of this will be posted on our Facebook page, or I will drop in the chat my email, and you can email me for the recording and I can send it the link right to you if you don't have like social media or anything. Let's see. Sure, I always, there we go. There's something wrong in my. Carrie, do you recommend I erase nose, chalk, and elongate? Oh, like if the nose is too short, they can extend. I had the same problem.
Yes, if you didn't do, you can totally add a couple inches to your nose. I know sometimes as the thickness of the line can throw you off, and you can add a couple inches if you feel like you need it. But their noses they're long, but they're not as long as you think measurement wise.
If people can see mine, I know I have Carrie's video spotlighted. When we do the painting part, I will try to put this up closer so everybody can see the muzzle of this is not super long. Same problem, Holly, when I was trying this out. I always try the class before we do the class. But my nose was a little short. It just looked a lot more like a husky than a wolf, but it's all fun.
But yeah, and you can add a little bit of paint as you go too. If you're like, okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more. That way you can see it blacked out in black.
Oh, that's Carrie's painting. Mine's in the room. I don't know if I'll show mine. I could. Let's do a thumbs up if we're good to go ahead and move on to the next step. And I will see. Okay, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Oh, lots of thumbs up. Looks like we are probably good to go on to the next step.
Cool. So one of the secrets of having a very realistic painting is you want to paint in the direction of the hair. So if you have a dog handy, I recommend you grab them and inspect them. But if you look at their hair kind of comes down off their neck and kind of fades out like this. It doesn't follow their body completely like this. It kind of fluffs outwards. And then up along the top of their head, it kind of sticks out like this and then moves backwards. And then around their eyes, it does this little cute thing around their eyebrows where it kind of swirls up and around. Now, here, I'll draw it with my chalk. So it kind of swirls up like this and around, and then it goes like this around their eye, like that, okay? So what we're gonna be doing is when we're painting, we're gonna be using those motions to help us add a little bit of extra hidden life, because when you have the paintings dry in ridges naturally from your brush, and the light will hit and reflect off those ridges and add a little extra layer of realism, essentially, because it treats the hairs of the brush of where you painted as kind of, that's where the hairs of the fur are. So as you come along through here, you'll want to paint like this. You want to paint around the eye like that. You'll want to use smaller brush strokes through here because they got tiny little hairs on their nose. A little bit, and it gets longer as they go further back, okay? So I'm just going to illustrate that with drawing that with my chalk. So it kind of goes up like this, up through here, like that, and down through here, it kind of goes fluffing out like this. And then out through here, kind of goes a little bit out like this, kind of like that, okay? And you can draw those in with chalk if that'll help you paint as well, because you want to keep your brush strokes kind of in line with that. All right, so the first colors we're going to start off with is going to be our black. And you probably need quite a bit of it because we're going to be covering this whole area. And I'm going to add a little bit of brown to my black. And I'll show you guys the ratio. Let's see. So I'm thinking about this much right now. I'll mix it together and see if that's the right color. Let's see. I want it to be kind of a dark brown. Because they're black, but they have more brown when the sun hits them. And I think it's really a pretty brownish black. So, okay, so we're going about that. I guess it's kind of a burnt umber color if you have official like labeled paints.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna start back here. That way I can get in the big brush strokes and move in the direction of my fur, going out like this. Okay.
And don't worry, Carrie's a really fast painter, so we will give you a few minutes after this.
Yes.
What color are we mixing the black with? She used brown.
I used a brown. So my brown is burnt umber brown, and I just bought a cheap one because I figured not everyone's going to have high quality paints. So this is just a lighter brown. We're going to add in some darker areas, and we're going to add in some lighter areas as well. So we need to have a little bit of brown mixed in with our black as their base coat.
And a lot of the AA wolves are a darker phase, where further up north where I live, there's a lot more like the gray wolves that you kind of really see, the iconic ones that you see in like Yellowstone and stuff. So these are kind of cool.
And then if you look in on here right now, instead of painting over where my chalk lines are, what I'm doing is I'm painting up to the line, and you can do something called, my teacher always called it push painting, where you push into the line like this, and then you pull it out. And see if I'll push it in like this. So say my line's right here. I'm gonna push the paint into that area so we can get more of an exact line. And then I'm gonna drag it out. That way I have a nice even pull, okay? So you're just gonna go through and paint that neck area. So go ahead and get that a nice dark brown, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So you're going to keep that same color. Go in and paint the face. Now remember, we want shorter strokes on the muzzle and working out to longer strokes here. And you want to try to, you can get rid of these midpoint lines. You can paint over those, that's fine. But we kind of want to keep that definition in the ears. So just kind of keep an eye on where you're painting. Use the geometry of your brush. You can just dab in the lines and then paint it in. That'll help you. So I'm just going to go through and do small little strokes on the face, moving out larger ones as we get to the cheeks and stuff. Okay. I'm just doing that little push up into the forebrow thing that I was telling you about, the push brush. You don't want to push it too hard because then you'll ruin your bristles of your brush, but gentle pushes is good, is okay. Just using the brush to go along the same way the hairs would be going. They kind of grow out from the eye and then travel down the muzzle like that in small little strokes. I'm just going to push brush up to the edge of this one. If you need to switch to a smaller brush than I'm using, go ahead and do it. I've been painting with a larger brush for years, so I'm just used to it. If you have to use this little tiny one to get into the corners and stuff, don't feel ashamed. It's okay. We still love you, and we still love your wolf. It does take practice to be able to paint with a larger brush and still get those details. So some people have a lot of paint that builds up in the heel of the brush. I don't know if you guys can see that, but some people will get big, big globs through there, and you can just wipe those off into your palette and just reuse that paint. You can really get globs that drop everywhere if you're not too careful. And if you have really nice brushes, one of the things that my teachers taught me that I had no idea about is before you start painting, you dip all your brushes in water. And what that does is it keeps the paint from traveling up into the spine of the brush or underneath this metal part and getting stuck up in there. And I'm just using the side of my brush to kind of make more of these tendrils instead of flat bars. So I'm kind of just using that to make little smaller chunks. It's really nice about a flat brush. Be able to do that. Is my hair blocking it? Still see it?
No.
Okay.
Now it is.
Dang it.
Can't use your head, Carrie.
Constant struggle. But it's actually, my hair is a little bit of a warning system before I hit my head on stuff, because I do that all the time. So, like a little, it's like those sailors that put the bobs on top of like those hats.
Oh.
The original purpose for those bobs. It's to keep you from hitting your head on the top of the ceiling. Or at least that's what I was told it was. All right. Okay. As you complete that step, just put in the chat a thumbs up, just to let us know where everyone's at.
Or your reaction thing. Your thumbs
you're
up.
right. Yeah, you're right.
Couple thumbs up already. Awesome.
Nice. So this is
Track.
good.
Yeah, we're staying on track really great tonight. Sadly, thumbs up. Not quite a wolf, but something close. It's all good. Oh, and for those of you who who have already received an email from to send out the video, it might take a day or two. We always send it to our media person to put it into a YouTube so that it's easily shareable. So give me a few moments or a day or so to get the video out to you. Something tragic happened to my wolf. He's giving me big Batman vibes.
Hey, that's not bad.
His poor little friend, he's got
Batman's awesome.
he's got to become a vigilante now. That's great.
Batman can have a wolf.
Yeah, and Batwolf.
That'd be a freaking cool sidekick. Better than a Robin. Tell you what.
Yeah.
I'm a dire wolf. All right. So we're going to take our tan now. If you don't have tan, you can just add a little bit of white to your brown. And we're just going to, I'm just using an ever so little bit of that. Oh, you know, gross globules. Okay. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit of my tan into my brown black mixture. I'll just create a nice homogenized color. Okay. Okay. So I'm going for about, it's just a shade or two lighter than the dark brown black that we were going for here. And I'm going to come in underneath, pushing the paint underneath his, essentially his fluffy cheeks. So I'm going to use this to kind of highlight and go over where my chalk was and kind of create those lines first. That way I can see where I was painting
His collar rough.
Yeah, it's collar rough because it seems that most of those wolves had that. They all have they had a lighter section directly underneath their faces. So I'm just going to come in, and it's going to get thinner as it gets up top. And using nice long strokes. I don't know if you can see really a difference in the canvas, but
Mhm.
and then as we come down here, we're gonna make it thicker. It kind of, and it's okay if it's a little streaky because they have some lighter sections and they have some darker sections. So we're gonna use that effect to our advantage.
Carrie, and it's just fine that they can still see the chalk around the outside of the wolf, right?
Yes, like I can see the chalk right through here. That's fine. When we have it all dry, we're gonna take that slightly damp cloth. You're gonna wipe the surface. And then here, I can even show you right now. So this part right here is dry. If I wipe, I can see the blue underneath, and that's where I'm gonna actually lay my line with my paint pen. Does that make sense? So we can use that, we're gonna use that section to our advantage. So you wanna paint into that line so that that line is then going to be your outline. So it needs to be thin lines. You don't want a lot of extra chalk hanging around everywhere. But like this bit right here, that's really chalky. When everything's dry, I can just wipe it away. It'll be gone. It'll be fine. So, okay. And just come through. And then I'm going to do some random kind of fluffy bits of that lighter color, just coming through here, kind of following the grain of the hair as well. Add some different brightnesses of that whitish gray. Okay. Kind of making an older looking wolf. I'm going to do one on the cheek as well. That was a little much. And if you do like me, I put on a little bit too much of the white down. I don't want it quite as white right through there. I'm just going to go over it with the darker paint again and push it in on the sides. Okay.
You know, it's funny, we've had these comments about the wolf looking like Batman and cats. I'm not gonna lie, I've done all the paint nights, and this one has been the hardest one for me. The bears, for some reason, were fairly easy. The beluga wasn't too bad, but the wolf is definitely a little harder of, in my opinion, of a critter to do.
Yeah, I think it's because we have so many expectations of wolves. Like we see dogs all the time. Because of those expectations, we know what we think we want it to look like. And so our expectations take over and we're not actually looking at what we're painting. Because you can follow steps exactly and just your mind will you'll fill it in exactly and it'll be fine. But with something that you expect, oh, I know what a ball looks like, or I know, you stop and impose upon your own thoughts on it.
No, I'm not typing away. I'm just answering a question for other paint nights that you missed. They're on our Facebook page, or you can send me an email. And I will type in my email again, just in case, so you don't have to scroll back through all our comments here. But we have a beluga recording and a polar bear recording.
Something went wrong with the grizzly bear one.
Yeah, unfortunately the brown bear one did not get recorded, but the polar bear one is a very fun one because you get to paint the northern lights as well.
You'll learn the tricks of the trade. Okay, so we're gonna take our darker black that's not mixed with the white, and we're gonna go into a little bit of extra black just to make it a little bit darker. And we're gonna paint that back ear a little bit darker because it's farther away. So I'm just painting the edge of the ear, that's closest to the head, and then fading it up the ear. That gives it a little bit of shadow kind of deal and allows it to fade farther into the back. I'm also going to take that same dark color and we're going to do the inside of the ear fluffies. It's where they got the fluffs, and you can use nice long strokes and move up the ear like that. And we can show a close-up of what those fluffies can look like. So there's a close-up. I got the darker part. Okay. Darker part right there, and then it kind of fades into a little bit lighter color. But you got to first paint the dark color so you can get a good.
And if you can see my video, I can hold it up to my camera. If you don't know how to see my video, you can use the little arrow and scroll through.
So just painting that whole area dark so that I can go over and do the lighter bits too.
Just go slowly over the
So I
wolf.
get a good contrast.
Mhm. Thanks for joining. If you do have to jump off, I know it is definitely later on the East Coast than it is here in Alaska. It's only 5:30, but.
So I'm also going to just add some random bits of that darker color around the painting. Just kind of, you can just kind of smooth it with your finger to lighten up the edges. And I'm just kind of going around the eye. It gets a little bit darker. And then in this corner, it kind of comes up on the eyebrow, making it a little bit darker as well. Do some darkerness on the cheeks. That. Gonna add a little bit of lightness back behind my ears. And I'm using my smaller brush for this. That seems to get a little bit of that sunlight and kind of bleaches their fur a little bit out. I'm gonna fade it. I don't know, kind of like surfer hair, I guess. I don't know.
Golden locks.
Yeah.
People want to see the Batman wolf, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Please
Totally.
stay on. Or send me photos and let me post it on Facebook. It'd be great.
Just going in my lighter ones and just fading it into everything else. Nice blend. Okay. All right, and you can fidget that around with as you will. Everyone's gonna need probably a little bit more time or a little bit less time than everyone else. I'm gonna move on to teaching how to do the nose real quick. All right, so I'm using my smaller brush for this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a tiny bit of white. If it will squeeze out, no, okay. Tiny bit of white right there. I'm gonna mix it into my black and get a nice little gray going. Okay. All right, on my gray, I'm gonna paint the majority of the nose, that light gray, or yeah, I guess it's a darker gray. I'm gonna leave that nostril line that I made, I'm gonna leave that unpainted. Just gonna paint around it. Like that, okay? Got my nice gray. If you go over it a little bit, that's fine. We can paint it over with black a little bit darker. It's not the end of the world. Okay. Now we're going to take our darkest black that we can, full on dark night black, okay? We're going to go inside that nostril. We're just going to paint that black. Oh, my hair. Okay. We're going to paint that black and we're going to fade that out and around and blend that into the brown. So I'm going to take a little bit of brown and just kind of go back and forth until I have it so it just fades into each other. Kind of tricky to keep your hair out of the way and paint. Ugh. Man, I guess that's first world problems.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have my darkest black right here and it fades into my dark brown that I have over here, okay? Getting too old, I can't sit on my knees for very long.
Neither can I.
I'm just going around and just fleshing out some of my colors. I see some might blue right through here, so I'm just covering that up. Sorry, guys. Can't see any of my blue. I did not cover these ears very thickly. All right. Okay, so we're gonna go back into our little bit of tan now that that ear is dry. We'll mix some of that. We're just gonna do some little fluffs of little fluffy ear thingies going up. It's a little light. Hold on. There we go. That's better. So same kind of color as we were doing back behind the ear. Yep. Okay. All right, folks, now we're gonna do the fun part. We're gonna get our towel, actually hit your blow dryers, hit the whole thing, make sure it's all super dry. Okay, so I'm gonna take mine over to my blow dryer, okay?
Back on.
So we're gonna take our slightly damp cloth and we're just gonna go wherever we see chalk lines and we're just gonna erase those. If you do have wet paint, careful, you will smear it. Okay.
I think you're just using chalk that you can buy at.
Yeah, it's just 99-cent chalk you can get at any store.
Yeah,
Walmart has it.
it's pretty great.
It works amazingly well.
Yeah.
And once you're done finished painting, you can go over it again once you dry. And because I have a little bit of a chalk halo right now, but I know I can erase that again in the end. I'm not gonna spend time doing it because it doesn't bug me, but if it bugs you, just go back around at the end and you can erase it. Okay, hopefully everyone's got that erased and everything.
Like comment. Carrie can't see the comments, so that's why I'm reading them out loud to her. But Whimsy Mark is like, who wouldn't want a magic angel halo wolf? I know, right? Exactly.
Part of the appeal. Okay, so we're gonna take our paint pen or Sharpie marker, whichever option you've got. And what we're gonna be drawing is the main part of the eye. We're not gonna draw the pupil just yet. You can if you would like, but we're probably gonna paint. You don't have to paint the amber as exact if you just like leave out. So we first have this shape, which is just an L. We're gonna slightly round it out. And then we're gonna add in our bottom half of our ellipse. Because we painted around it, we kind of already have an outline. You don't have to follow that exactly. If you don't like the shape, you can fudge it a little bit. And then once we have this point, we're gonna paint this part amber, and then we'll add in the pupil and then add in the little white dot that is the reflection. And then we'll, and then you can just draw in the eyeliner, as we like to call it, okay? So we're gonna start off with this slightly rounded shape, okay? Because we did the sharp shape before.
Do you want me to do up close camera work on this?
Sure, yeah.
So it might be a little shaky, I apologize, but I will try to hold it.
Stand.
Yeah, you can see it. So we're gonna see if we can get it closer.
And if you draw better with it on a flat surface, like most people do, you can take it off your easel or whatever. So I'm gonna do slightly rounded. Like that. And I do have a little bit of blue showing through because I didn't quite paint all lines, but that's okay. I can go back in and fix that.
Can they use black paint if they don't have a Sharpie? Or?
Yes, they can. It's going to be a lot harder, which is why I'm using the Sharpie method, because it takes a little bit longer for the paint to dry in between each step and all that fun stuff. So, okay, so then we're going to do our oval underneath like that. All right, so at this point, this is where we're gonna paint this part amber or orange or blue or pink or whatever you want the color of your wolf side to be. Most of these wolves have amber eyes from what I could tell in the photos. So a little dot of yellow and a little dot of red. So I'm gonna mix mostly my red and my a little bit. Okay. That's a little bit lighter. Okay. That's about the color I want right there. Okay.
Hopefully this up close helps and it doesn't make you seasick or whatever.
Okay. So I'm just gonna paint the inside of this with my amber. And if you're using cheaper paint, like I am for this demo, you might have to do multiple layers. So we're gonna let that completely dry and then we'll do another layer of amber, okay? But while that's drying, I'm gonna be painting in my, my little turquoise spots still, okay? So go ahead and let that dry and then we'll go in again.
Okay.
Come on. It's all about the camera.
Yeah.
It's all about that's how you see it. Okay. Okay, there's a few things I can do while that's drying still. I'm gonna, actually, we're just gonna hit it with blow dry because I'm impatient, so.
Maybe I'll zoom in on this for eyes. Okay. Oh, I was like, was that me? I'm pretty sure my phone's on mute.
Yep. All right, so we're just going with another layer. Now, when you're painting this second layer, if you are getting like or you're kind of taking up from the previous layer, it might just be because it's still too wet.
And hi, Mary. Cindy and I were going to say hi, if you're available.
Let's make sure we're on mute, folks. We've got a little bit of background noise.
And the gal that I like there. So,
I can mute people. Gotta find them.
Put them down. I should be pointing
Maybe.
at this. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I can't figure out who is. Maybe it will go away.
And you
Okay.
can see I painted over my line a little bit. That's okay. Once it's dry, I can go back over it and take pen. We're just trying to make sure we're painting in the right area. So that's why we drew it first. Hit it with another blast. Hitting it with another blast of heat. Boom. All right, so that's now dry. So I'm gonna re-go over my black lines. Make sure I have nice crisp, clean edges. And then I'm gonna do the iris. So when you're doing the iris, it's important that you go straight down from the top part of the eye and not curve around. If you curve around, so instead of an eye that looks like it has a pupil, like, oh, pardon me, we'll have this kind of looking thing, and it makes it kind of look like a goat's eye. So you want to make sure you come straight down from the top part. And I try to keep it a little bit more in this corner than, because they're looking that way. Okay. Now we're going to fill in our little bit of eyeliner. If you're a makeup person, you'll be great at this. And we'll just fill that in like that. There we go. He's got his eyeliner on. And we're going to make a little couple swooshes up to just kind of indicate the brow, where that's at. You can kind of go same right here. Like that. All right. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? All right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to load up our paintbrush. Actually, we'll give you a second to finish that eye. I'm sorry. I don't want to go too fast on you.
Make sure that everybody's still good. Looks like people are still doing a little bit on the eye. A few that I can see. Surprisingly hard to hold your phone like perfectly steady.
No, I have like tremor or something, I'm sure. I also can't keep focused.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to take our white paint and we're going to load it up on the edge of our pencil sized brush, about that big. We're going to use this. Oh. There you go. Okay. No, I heard it. Okay, got it. All right, so we're going to add a little bit of extra paint so that we can get that glob right there. What we're going to do is barely touch that piece right to the corner part and make a reflection piece right there. Just a little tiny bit of paint. And that's just, where's the camera part? Okay. And then I didn't use that whole thing. I just used the very tip of that. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Makes it look like it's not a soulless beast. Okay. Then I'm going to use my tiny hairbrush. Okay. And you can cut an old paintbrush down to just have a couple hairs, or, you know, just grab your little sister's hair and just grab a few. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Okay. And you're just going to paint the bottom rim of the eye right there. What that does, it gives it a little bit of glint, like it's a little watery. It's the prise de resistance. Like that. You can also go in with, if you don't have a tiny hairbrush, then you can go back in later when you find a sacrificial brush for later. You can totally do this. And then we're also going to take that same brush. We're going to do the top part of the nose. And that. We're going to do the top part of the nostril. I kind of wiped away my nostril, so I'm going to draw that in real quick. Sorry, guys. I got a little too much in there with the. So if you didn't wipe yours away, yours will probably look like that. And you put the little bit of white right up top there. You just wrap it around the nostril, kind of like that. All right. We're gonna add little bits of snow to his face. They tend to gather a little bit of snow on the top of their nose.
I was like, you don't have to add snow if you don't want.
Yeah, you don't. If you don't want to add snow, you don't have to. It kind of builds up on their.
Maybe if you're in Texas, you can add snow.
Like, oh. It kind of builds up quite a bit back behind here. We have a bunch of snow. Kind of like that. So I just randomly put little bits of snow everywhere, kind of on the level surfaces. Tops of the ears, they always gathered a little bit of snow in the photos, kind of like that. And it's totally up to your taste on where you feel like you want to have snow. Let's just say lesser is better. Don't overdo it, and don't make random. You want to make random patterns, not regular patterns. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we'll let you guys catch up to that point real quick, and then it's just. Oh, snow, we gotta do snow.
Oh, snow.
Yes.
Okay. A little bit of movement is me checking the chat. Making sure that.
Okay, so now I'm gonna do my outlines of my ears and things. Skipping over where I put snow on ears.
This is my favorite part, because you don't have to be like super precise with the outline.
And you can kind of cover up your mistakes with your outline if you don't have super straight lines or something. I'm actually gonna go over that snow a little bit more. But. And once again, if you find it hard to draw face with it on the canvas, you can bring it down. Put you back in the cradle. You don't want to be my cameraman anymore? Man.
I'm gonna check the chat.
So now we're doing.
Oh, there's no chat. Okay.
I'm just gonna put the snow back on the forehead where I kind of erased it with my stuff. Okay. Okay. Now it's for the funnest part, you guys. And if you're not done with the outline, that's okay. You can come back to that after everyone's kind of finished and wrapped up. Okay, this is where you get your person you dislike in your household toothbrush. I won't tell you whose this toothbrush this is, but I'm just kidding. Take a little bit of your water, and you're gonna mix it in with your white paint. Okay, kind of like that. Okay, cool. Like that, it's all loaded up inside my paintbrush with a little bit of water. Or I'm sorry, toothbrush, not paintbrush. Okay, Now, if you have something back behind your painting that you don't want to get paint on, I recommend moving this over a sink or something when you do this. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be running our thumb down the bristles like this, and it flings paint this way, okay? So it flings paint out this way, and it kind of does, if you do it really close, it's going to make small patterns. So if you want it to look more like randomized snow, you're going to go farther away. And I'm going to kind of avoid putting this directly in front of my wolf. I'm going to kind of try to spray around it. That way I don't cover my wolf in snow. I want a little bit of flex, but I want a main focus to be my wolf. So just, I'd watch real quick kind of first, and then I'd do yours. So that was one flick. I kind of covered the whole thing. It's kind of hard to see actually on the camera, but covered the whole thing in that one flick. It have paint everywhere. So we'll go back again. Another one.
And if you're not quite to the snow part, it's okay if you're like still outlining and stuff.
Yes, that is perfectly fine. Yeah.
The snow is
Super
simple, and it's like you don't have to have the snow.
Yeah.
Mine was in a blizzard. I got a little excited with the flicking the paint with a toothbrush.
Yeah. And mine took maybe 6 flicks of the toothbrush to, I feel like that's a good level of snow for me. Let's take you on a close-up ride. So hopefully you can see it more. You see better with the light? Without the light. Does that look better? Okay.
Yeah.
So I kind of have a nice even coverage, kind of like that, because I was about, when I flicked it, it was about that far away from the canvas. So I don't know if that helped or hurt. Probably just made everyone sick. Sorry.
Can you show the flicking again?
Sure. Let's see if we can do it. Let's just put it like this. Okay. You want to hold?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was about fingers wide width away from my canvas. And I just kind of brushed it back. If you do it like little tiny ones, it's like a front view. You do little tiny ones, you're not going to pull it back far enough. So you need to do a good, my thumb gets covered pretty much in paint. So it doesn't show up super well on this, but.
And remember, the closer you are to the canvas, the more centralized the
It's
snow
gonna, I
will be.
wonder if I showed it on my hand. So, yeah, there we go. So by doing it like that, I kind of create, let's see. There we go. That was really close. And then farther away creates a more widespread pattern of snow.
I know we're about there on time, so if you
Pretty much just gotta finish your outlines and then you're
Yep.
done.
and if you want to turn on your cameras, now is the time. I'm gonna let's see. I'm gonna do. Is the paint watered down for flicking? Did you water down the paint?
Yes, I watered down
Yes.
my paint ever so slightly with water. You don't want it to be too viscous that it like when you move. Say I can move this. This is what I grabbed from. I'm able to move that without it dripping. If it's dripping, that's too much. Because then when the paint flings onto the canvas, it'll drip down, which is an effect on its own. But you want to get it wet enough, and then when you tip it, it maybe instead of running like that, it'll just kind of move just a little bit.
All right, I'm just gonna go around and I'm spotlighting for if it's okay, I'm just spotlighting people who have wolves.
Oh my
So this is Lucy. She joined us last time.
That looks so good.
Let's see, who else can we?
I love it.
And I
Oh,
feel like her blue
cool.
is very much night sky.
Here's
Oh my
Sonia.
gosh. Look
Oh, I love
at him. He's very intelligent looking. Oh
I
man.
can show it off.
Look at
if I
that.
show
Oh
it.
my gosh.
Ooh,
looks
2
so
wolves.
good.
Awesome. Okay, I'm just gonna go
Wow.
down the line on
You
my
guys did it
screen.
tricky because you had the paper version and that's even harder. You guys were troopers. Oh,
Awesome.
nice.
Ooh,
I love
like
it.
Jessica,
so
that's
good.
great.
Is
Ooh,
that
oh,
crayon or is that marker? Is that marker?
It's marker.
Okay,
Oh,
nice.
nice.
Yeah.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Looks really good.
Okay, we're
Thank
gonna-
you.
Oh man. Look at
Ooh,
that one. That
that's a cool
looks
look.
like that's like a book cover kind of look. Like that's like
Yeah.
I feel like it needs like a moon like back behind it and just dramatic.
Awesome.
Very nice. Good job.
And we'll go to Michelle.
Oh man. I like it. Wow, you've got
Cool.
did you do let's see. I can barely see the eye. Oh man.
Oh,
I
there's
like
the
the reflection though.
Oh,
There we
using
go.
your camera.
Oh man, that looks so
Awesome.
good.
Okay, we'll go to this one.
I like the fur around its neck. It's very good.
Oh,
Oh, look at that background
I like
too.
that background.
Oh my
That's almost
gosh.
like Northern Lights.
Man. And the snow on the top of the forehead. Oh my gosh.
Kimberly,
super cute.
Kimberly Denham.
Oh, that looks like a curious wolf. It kind of is like shy looking. I like it.
Timid wolf. Who else do we have?
Who else we got?
Have I
Very
I
good
can't
job,
remember.
guys.
I can't remember who I've shown now. Sorry if I forget.
Oh,
Sarah.
Oh my
Awesome.
goodness. Look
These
at
are good.
that one.
These are really good
He's
wolves.
he's like, I would be afraid to meet that wolf
Oh, there's a
in person.
There's
He's very intense. I like it.
dire wolf.
A dire wolf.
Awesome. Like a black and
Arctic
a white
wolf.
one.
Oh man. I feel like they could
The white one
be
is really
twins.
cool.
That's so great.
This is fun. I like replacing
Oh
spotlights.
man, I like
Look.
that.
Oh,
Look.
that's cool.
You got the underneath the eye thing like perfect. Good job.
Kate, let's see. Katie's next.
Ooh, yeah. You got those
Ooh, that looks
reflections in the
good,
eye.
Katie.
Good job. That's a good background color too. I like it. It's like a little darker.
Michelle.
Ah, there
Oh,
we go.
that's pretty.
Ooh,
I like the
yes.
really like this.
Ah, the viscous paint drip. That's
The
an
drip.
effect in like you can do that for like different. I like to do that for different colors like rainbows. dripping.
Karen.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Look at that. That's so good. You guys are so talented. Oh my gosh.
Lindsay.
Ooh,
look at the
fluffy.
rough on that one.
Oh man, yes, I love it.
Let's see. Eve is next, I think.
The rough that makes it look a little.
Eve. Awesome.
Oh wow, you good job.
Eve is our
Wow.
intern this year for
Look
Defenders.
at that. Looks so good.
Thanks for joining, Eve.
Very nice.
Sarah. Ooh, that's pretty background
Ooh,
too.
yeah. I like the
love
eye color on
these.
that one.
Okay.
It like it gets the amber like
Joanne.
vibes very well.
Joanne.
Ooh.
Oh, you even have like an artist
Oh
board
man,
and
you
everything.
like you're like professional level clipboard type man. I like it.
Awesome.
Oh, so good. Oh, good job,
Guys,
guys.
you all did really awesome. Let's see if there's anybody else holding their wolves up. Pam and Eric. Let's see.
Oh, there we go.
So cool.
Oh man, you guys did so great. Like the tilt of the head's just perfect. Oh man.
Jennifer.
Oh wow, look at that eye. It's so
Oh yeah,
good.
sure.
Ah.
Lindsay, you can share your screen. Let's see. Can you share your screen?
Did you turn it on?
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
man.
that is so cool.
Cool. That's
That is
awesome.
awesome.
I love that. That's so
That should
cool.
be like our postcard. It's already digitalized.
I love it.
Thanks for sharing.
Digital art is a different level. That's
I'm gonna turn on the gallery. Let's see.
I always forget where my paintbrushes are in digital art and I have to
I'm removing the spotlight and I'm turning on. I guess I never know what everybody is seeing. But I'm
Can
turning on
everyone
like
kind
a
of see
gallery.
everyone else's?
Yeah, gallery
Oh
view.
man, look at that.
We can all see wolves.
Oh, that one has like almost like shooting stars. That's so cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you all. If
Thank you so much for sharing your artwork with us. That was amazing. You guys did
Yeah.
so well. And I know we kept it at a fast clip. So good job. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
So good.
And I'll send the recording out. Just I will drop one more time and stay on for a minute. Just if people want to send me pictures of their photos and allow me to use them for social media, that would be awesome. We love doing that. And I'm just making sure I spelled my name right. So my last name is so long. But
Oh my
thanks
gosh,
for joining
you guys
us.
did so wonderful. I'm so happy. Good job.
Our next paint
Oh,
night
wow. I like that
is in the
one's
works.
fur.
And we have, I think we're gonna do sea otters, and it's gonna be in April. We're gonna kind of skip March. But April 1st, I think, is the plan. So watch our Facebook, social media, other things, sign up for Defenders, emails and stuff. All right, I think I'm gonna
Thanks,
sign off
guys.
for everybody. Thank you.
Bye.